All right, guys. So today I'm going to make a video about how to calculate child support. Now, there's a lot of ways that a video on calculating child support can get in the weeds and complex and a lot longer than it should be. So I'm going to try to make this really quick and streamlined. Whenever you're talking about calculating child support, there's going to be a few main factors that we're going to be looking at. Information about the children, information about everyone's wage and filing status, right? Deductions. Okay. And that's really going to be the meat of it for most people. If people have investments that they're earning money from, that there is a place for that. If people are getting or paying alimony, there's a place for that. But again, for this, we're just talking about children, wages, filing status, and deductions. All right. So first off, I created an account here for John and Jane Doe. So we're going to start with kids. We're going to assume that these parties are going to have 50-50 time sharing. So you see overnights between the parties, 50-50. We're going to be assuming that mom is going to be claiming the child for tax purposes every year. You see here the claiming of the tax dependents. And so that's going to be our starting point. That's going to be our jumping off point. Okay. 50-50 time sharing. Mom's claiming the kids for taxes. Now we're going to go down here on these tabs. I'm using family law software, by the way. It's just the one I use. Are available in a lot of states in the US. If you're going to be paying for a software, I like them. They've got a lot of training available to get people up and running with their software. It's not that expensive. And I think you can cancel anytime. So maybe worth checking them out. Okay. So I've opened up a tab here for people's incomes. So now you can see here wages and filing status. Here's dad, here's mom. All right. So this number here, this guideline that I've set up assumes that dad makes $70,000 a year and mom makes $30,000 a year. Okay. And now I can break this out in monthly amounts. In fact, breaking it out monthly is what you will see most of the time. Like if the Department of Revenue is running some child support calculations on you, they're going to have this broken out in a monthly amount. So instead of 70,000, it might be, I don't know, 5,800 a month or whatever that. I think that's roughly close to 70,000. Don't judge me on my math. Definitely not a mathematician. And then there's places here if someone's self-employed. Obviously, we can check off that they're self-employed because let's say if dad was self-employed, we would check this off. And what that's going to do is going to attribute those higher self-employed taxes to him. And it's going to change that amount. So we're going to put in 70,000 for dad, 30,000 for mom. That's the incomes, their filing status, tax filing status. Typically, the parent who's going to be claiming the child for tax purposes or having that designation of being the majority parent is going to be head of household, and the other parent is going to be single. I am not a tax attorney, but I don't believe that both can claim head of household. All right. Next, we're going to go to deductions. And this is where a lot of people get screwed up. It's going to open a deductions tab, and it starts out with health insurance. So this is going to assume that dad pays $200 a month for his own health insurance, all right? Because that number is supposed to go into the calculations. Each parent is supposed to get a credit in their favor for the amount that they spend each month for their own health insurance, okay? Make sure they don't miss that when they do your calculations. All right. We're assuming that dad's paying $50 a month toward the child's share of the health insurance. Okay. So dad is coming out of pocket each month, total of $250. Here under mom's column, we're assuming that mom pays $200 a month for her health insurance. Okay. And very important, if you got another attorney on the other side or Department of Revenue who is running your stuff, make sure they're not leaving these numbers out, or worse, only putting them in for their client and not putting them in for you. Okay. Because that's important too. Now there's a place for dental insurance that comes into play. vision insurance, sometimes they'll just add those all together and plug them in here. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but something to be on the lookout for. Daycare costs. This is a wild card in child support cases that I want everyone to be aware of, because childcare expenses per month, this can wreak absolute havoc on your child support calculations. And I'm going to show you why. So with these numbers that we have so far, with these parties having 50-50 custody, right? So they got 50-50 time sharing here, okay? And make sure, if the other side is running these numbers, make sure this is absolutely accurate, okay? You might have to sit down and hand count how many overnights you have, okay? But make sure this number is accurate. This has a huge impact on the child support number, okay? So 50-50 time sharing, dad making $70,000 a year, mom making $30,000 a year, okay? These insurance numbers we just went over, all right? With that data, that has dad paying child support of approximately $265 a month, okay? Here's how much of a wild card the daycare cost is. If mom's paying, and I think the average going rate for full-time daycare for a child who's not quite school age yet, it's probably about $1,000 a month, right? You might be able to find a little cheaper. I mean, a lot of places will be more expensive. Right now, I see the average being $1,000 a month. So let's say mom, in this case, is paying $1,000 a month in full-time daycare, right? That takes that child support obligation from $265 all the way up to $913 a month. Okay. Still 50-50. Okay. Nothing else changed except mom's paying $1,000 a month in daycare. Went from $250 a month, $265 a month, all the way up to $913. Okay. That's how huge these daycare costs are. And that's why in all these videos on my channel, you're always hearing me constantly going on yapping about how make sure the other parent does not get away with lying about there being daycare costs. Because something that'll happen a lot here, guys, is the other parent will say, yeah, I dropped the kids off to my mom or my sister or something like that, who watches the kids while I'm at work. I paid them cash. There's no way to prove that. And in a hearing, they would need to, I would argue that they need to prove that they're actually paying that money, right? Show me on a bank statement where you Zelle or Cash Apps the money to them, and show me where that's coming out every week. Show me a receipt. Show me something. Usually they don't have it because they're not paying the family member. Family member's not charging them for it. And now if they're going to a licensed, bonded childcare facility, hey, that's great. Your kids are going to be safe. They're going to be well taken care of, right? And there's going to be a paper trail. There's going to be proof of the money that's being paid. But you got to really watch out for this, because you can go from a situation where you might only be paying $200 a month. If the other parent lies about childcare, you could be paying almost $1,000 a month. That's huge. That's the difference between someone surviving and someone going underwater and not being able to financially survive with their child support payment. I see so many people get screwed up with this. All right. So we put in these numbers. Out is going to come this summary worksheet. Look, this takes practice. It takes practice to be able to read one of these things. This is a DPA readout. I'm using a Florida version, family law software. In Florida, DPA is a really big, popular format to look at these. Your state might be different. Okay. Your state might not take into consideration the overnights the way that this particular calculation does. My belief is that the vast majority of states in the U.S. are going to very heavily weigh the number of overnights that you have with the kids in terms of what your child support is going to be. Now, I have received some information in the comments on some of my other videos. Some of my Texas viewers, right, are telling me, no, Sean, hey, Texas doesn't take into account the overnights. Texas only uses the non-custodial parent's income. All right. If that's true, that is totally effed up. That is totally messed up. If it does not take into account overnights and it does not take into account the other parent's income, that just feels icky to me. That just feels like it's made to financially destroy the non-custodial parent, which usually in these cases is dad, especially if we're talking about state Department of Revenue and administrative child support cases. But all right, guys, so that's the long and the short of it. So to summarize, when you're running child support calculations, they're going to take into account the court or the other lawyer or the Department of Revenue or whoever it is going to use software very similar to this, if not in the same one. And they're going to really just be looking at, and let's go back real quick so I can just show you again. And again, this software, it takes time to get to know it. They're going to be talking about child information. Who's going to be claiming a child for tax purposes? Right? Because if it's mom, the software is going to assume that mom's going to get that tax refund, that extra tax refund every year. They're going to add that to her income for child support calculation purposes. So if I take that away from mom and I give it to dad, dad's child support is going to go up because the software is going to assume dad's making more money every year based on that tax exemption. Okay. So right now we're assuming it's for mom. We're making really, when we're doing this, guys, we're making absolutely sure that we are crystal clear on who is getting credit for the tax exemption in the software in the calculation, because most readouts that another lawyer is going to hand across the table to you at a hearing, it's not going to be really clear on there who's claiming the kid for tax purposes. So make sure that we're asking those questions and getting clarification on that. We're making damn sure that the overnights are accurate. Okay. Any overnights that your kids are spending with you, that you are absolutely getting credit for those, because most places it's going to have a very big impact on the calculation. We're also making sure, now I'm on the wages, the income tab, we're making absolutely sure that the other parent's income is accurate. They're not hiding money. They're not lying. And check out the other videos on this channel where we talk about conducting discovery, right? We've already got, by the time you're at a hearing and you're talking about this, you should already have the last couple of years of the other parent's tax returns. You should have 6 months of their checking account statements. You should have 6 months of their pay stubs. You should have a copy of their residential lease so you can see if they have roommates that are contributing to expenses. You should have any documented proof of payments that they make to daycare or childcare providers, right? You should have savings account statements. You should have 6 or 12 months of savings account statements. At a minimum, you should have all of those things so you can have a clear picture of what they're making. Because listen, this $265 a month, if the mom is making $30,000 a year, let's just mess around and say, what if mom's only making $15,000? How much does it change it? Boom, $434. Okay. So it goes up. It went up a lot, not quite double, but it went up a lot. For a lot of us, that 200 or so a month that it just went up is the difference between survival and financial ruin, like going into a hole. So just be aware. All of these factors are very important. Deductions, this is the killer. This is where the other side will sneak in data, be shady about how they put data in there to screw you up on your child support, okay? Make absolutely sure that the amount that both parents are paying for their own health insurance is accurate, like you've seen documents in your discovery. Look at the other parent's pay stubs. You'll see exactly how much comes out if it's employer health insurance. If it's not, then let's request, and you want to request from the other side a copy of the breakdown from their health insurance provider of how much their health insurance costs every month, right? This has got to be accurate. This makes a difference in your calculation, right? Make sure you're getting credit for every dime that you spend for your own health insurance. If you're covering your kid, make sure you're getting credit for every dime you spend on your kid's health insurance. It makes a difference. Okay. And daycare costs, I already talked about that. Don't get screwed. Don't get screwed. Make them prove how much they're paying for daycare. All right. Okay, guys, I promised I was going to try to keep this short. I'm creeping up on 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Appreciate y'all hanging through to the end. Listen, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something from it, if it improved your situation, then definitely do me a favor, hit that thumbs up icon. If you want to learn more about the child support system, other aspects and areas of family law, including divorce, celebrity, family law situations, and other just interesting legal stories, definitely think about subscribing to this channel. Check out our other videos. I'm adding new videos daily. I think this week I put out 2 a day, just had some extra time. Guys, let me know in the comments if there's other topics that you want me to make videos about. Let me know in the comments section. Okay. I will see you guys in the next one. Also, don't forget, guys, nothing in this video constitutes legal advice or is an invitation to establish an attorney-client relationship. We would always consult an attorney in your specific jurisdiction about your specific set of facts. All of the information here is for more general information purposes only. Okay. Not a substitute for consulting an attorney again in your jurisdiction. All right, guys. See you in the next one.